name is Arjun.
I'm Mehul Goel, and we are incoming sophomores at Limburg High School.
In today's virtual pitch, we wanted to present to you guys Project Insight, a project that tackles affordable housing for all and healing the land. As judges, we would like your roles to be industry influencers / investors. So what are our two problems right now? Well, for starters, COVID right now is actually majorly what we're tackling. And right now it's negatively impacting the economy in a sense that 23% of Americans have actually lost their jobs in the past 2 months. And if we calculate this, it's roughly 36 million people that were working have now lost their jobs. Now, if you take a look at this graph here, you can see that till about March, the unemployment rates are pretty steady and they're really low. But then halfway through March, they start to spike. And the reason this causes such a problem is because a lot of people have been evicted from their homes. And if not, they're in huge homeowners debt. Now, a second unrelated problem is that plastic is a major tipping point of pollution. And right now, there are so many garbage patches that are killing animals. And since we took a census from Utah Recycles, we found that 35 billion plastic bottles are wasted every year in America. Now, that's roughly calculated to about 75% of the plastic. If you look at this graph, the reason that there's so much plastic that's being wasted is because even though there are so many industries, even in the lowest one, which is industrial machinery, there's still up to 1 million tons being wasted. And the problem is no one's doing anything with that excess plastic. So what is our solution? Our solution is to use an app to communicate and get plastic and sawdust to build an eco-friendly edifice structured with an abundant yet inexpensive resource for those who can't afford it. Simply put, we're basically just putting a roof over homeless people's heads, and we're only using plastic and sawdust.
So as judges, we ask your roles to be investors and industry influencers. And creating these houses will cost a lot of money. We plan on building 950 of them initially. So taking a look at this graph over here for the 950 homes, the cost it'll take, amenities would be just under $4 million. Land and the labor or construction costs will be just under $1.5 million. And the labor of engineers and architects is just over $500,000. That means in total for 950 homes, it'll cost $7.5 million. That's why we're asking for a grant of $8 million so that we understand that these prices can inflate and depreciate, and we want to make sure that we cover all our bases. We also have created an app that interfaces with companies to secure the plastic and sawdust needed for our homes. So we would like to use your industry influence to push our app to our target markets, such as local factories or packaging companies.
I know what you guys are thinking. $8 million is a pretty big grant for a starting project, but we can show our ROI and prove that we're willing to pay it back and it's going to work. So for starters, we found that 95% of companies pay back investments within 3 and 6 years, and we can guarantee that in half of that time. So let me show you this graph right here. And as you can see, from 2020 July, if we got the grant this month, from 2020 July to 2021, in those 6 months would be nothing but construction. And then after that, we've done a calculated market analysis to find that we can make $8.5 million in 1 year if we rent the homes at $750 a month, which is much less than average homes right now. In the Bay Area, average homes are about $1,800 a month. So we're renting it for much less. So we break even with you guys around end of 2021 to 2022. And after that, we would recycle our costs and use it to make as many homes as we can till 2023. And after that, it's just smooth sailing.
So why would people want to actually live in these homes? There's a couple of reasons. First of all, our homes are incredibly cheap. After all, we're only selling it for $750 a month. So we found out that generally homes, the main part of them is land. And then we looked around the Bay Area and found that places closer to highways generally have cheaper costs. And that led us to our first potential plot, 622 Happy Valley Road, Pleasanton. As you can see, it's very close to places such as schools and grocery stores, making it a great place. And also incredibly cheap land at $1.4 million for over 3.5 acres. So taking a look at the floor plan of some one unit and 4 units on our site, you can see that we have a 2-person bed, optional storage, all the bathroom necessities, under-counter refrigerator, 2-grill stove, and a sink. We also have plenty of space for them to put chairs, dining tables, or whatever else is necessary. On the site, We're going to put 4 units in such orientation so that we conserve plumbing, as we'll just run pipes to here and here.
Now, the second part of our demonstration for our feasibility is to show you that our application actually works. So we call our app Insight. And right now, as you can see, we have 4 different buttons. So we'll start with the first one, which is plastic and sawdust availability. And keep in mind that this is from a company's orientation and not our own. And what they would do is they would actually put in their factory location where they want us to pick up the plastic. In this case, we'll make it vague and put it as Fremont. After that, they get to enter the amount of plastic that they have that we can take from them, and then how much they're willing to pay. Now, if the pay is way too much or not enough, there will be negotiations after, as we can call them based on how they would sign up. After you see the confirmation on the order, you would go to scheduling, and you would pick a date for when we could pick up the plastic. So you could either do that by clicking right there on the the calendar, and it would automatically put in a date, or you could type it in as we are doing right now. That's just for the 18th of July. And then what you could also do is you put in a specific timeline. You could leave it open, it's not required, but if you do leave it open, we could come anytime we wanted. So a couple of the buttons is the About Us page, and this shows pictures of me and him and what our project is about and our goal. And we even have a small set of contact info. And I know you guys saw Contact Us. That actually leads to the same page because not a lot of people think to look for the contact info in About Us. So we decided we just put both buttons in case.
Yeah. So our social impact. So we see that due to coronavirus, lots of people have lost their jobs. This means that there can be potential foreclosures, or they could be evicted from their apartments. So by offering a cheaper alternative, we could fix the housing problem due to coronavirus. And long term, we'll be able to significantly reduce the plastic waste as communities may start to switch over to our plastic homes. I'm Mehul Goel.
I'm Arjun Iyer, and for Project Insight, we're building eco-friendly homes for those who can't afford it. Any questions?
Yeah, we're done. Do you guys this slideshow or?
No, it's just here.
I have. Yeah, you can keep it or you can just end it. So that's fine. I have a question, which is along the lines of like there are 2 entities that you are trying to deal with, right? Like trying to find land,
Right.
trying to build houses, and then you need the plastics. Have you had a chance to just speak with people in those industry and get any feedback? Like, for example, there are tons of construction companies, for example, KB Homes.
Yes, so we called a couple of structural engineers and a couple of architects to look at how the houses would be built to make sure that they fit within the land. But that's about it. We didn't take a look at multiple other aspects.
Yeah, ultimately this becomes like a real estate problem. Like who would come to live there? At what cost would you actually like build it? And at what point would you actually like recuperate? I mean, like ignoring the social good part of it, the economics also has to actually like work. So it's worth actually just, when you basically have economics working, then naturally the social good part of it becomes like extremely easy. Right. But if not, then it is generally an uphill climb for any of these projects.
Okay, thank you so much. Anybody else?
Well, I first want to compliment you on your presentation skills. Your enthusiasm is really clear, and you both have obviously spent a lot of time talking about this issue and thinking about how you wanted to present. So good job on that. I also am slightly concerned about the economics of it, but not in the same way that Madan is. Policy. Structural policy can be a real problem, not only in building code, but specifically as you zoomed in on a particular plot of land, say next to the freeway. Have you called the county to ask about zoning? Thought about anything related to those issues?
So we did not call on the zoning part, but I talked about because we were also a bit what would be the right word? Yeah, we're sort of like confused about if plastic would actually work because we were afraid that it wouldn't be strong enough to hold the homes. So that's why we went to a structural engineer, and then we saw that he suggested that we input sawdust too, and he'll make it stronger. And he also suggested that we create not bricks per se, but we're gonna like extrude them and like we're using heat and pressure. So we're gonna have longer bricks. So that's why it's gonna be more sturdy. But we did not get an actual confirmation that this will work in the city.
So we actually, what happened was we spent a lot of time working on infrastructure and how it would be built. And we know that this project does have potential, and we know that we can definitely take it to the next step. But for now, we were first thinking of, making sure that the house makes sense and that it's livable for starters. And we were going to consider zoning, but there just wasn't enough time.
Okay, so building code, zoning, those are the two that are probably
Right.
going to be your challenge. And then there is this other component that's unique, and that I don't think we got into this in anybody else's presentation today, and that's that you may need to consider some of the civic challenges that are related to policy. So for example, certain areas are not zoned for multi-unit dwellings. Some are not zoned for low-income housing. And so while I completely appreciate that you're looking for places that are affordable and sustainable for people to live, these are also some of the challenges. That said, you have great presentation skills. You're going to need those when you go to lobby your community and the mayor and your city council members for this kind of project. So overall, I don't want to take up too much time. I wanted to call out that this was a unique aspect of your presentation that didn't necessarily pop up in other places.
So what we were planning on doing is, so we have multiple potential plots for that reason, because we know that a lot of it will not be zoned and it definitely won't be ready for multiple houses. So that's why we have multiple places. But I see what you mean, and we'll definitely look into that.
Thank you for the feedback.
Hi guys, I agree with Joanne. That was a good presentation. I just had one small question in addition. So on your app, when you said like that you would pick up plastic from Fremont and you said pay, are they paying you to pick it up, or are you paying them to buy the plastic for them?
Okay, so basically we're actually they would pay us because as companies, this is generally actually like waste costs. Like they have to take it, haul it over to like the land falls. That's the right word. Like the trash sites, and so they're actually be paying us because they have lots of plastic that they need to remove. So basically, rather than just removing it, we would actually also use it. That's how we would earn the money. So yeah, they would be paying us.
And then those costs would cancel out the extrusion costs when we start building the bricks. Roughly, there might be a couple of ups and downs, but we're not exactly sure yet, because you can't really go and build a prototype, especially during this time.
Might want to test that out. How many people are willing to pay you to pick up their trash?
Right.